If you love ghosts, cryptids, UFOs, and everything that goes bump in the night, then mark your calendars for the West Kentucky Paranormal Expo, happening September 26 in Mayfield, Kentucky at the Mayfield Graves County Fairgrounds. This incredible one-day event brings together some of the biggest names in the paranormal community, including Aaron G. Thompson from Netflix's 28 Days Haunted, Jimmy and Jeffrey from Outlaw Paranormal, The Wind of Rose, Josh Morris, Michael Huntington, Rachel Ravensville, and many, many more special guests and speakers. Your admission is just $15, and that gets you an all-day come-and-go wristband so you can explore at your own pace, browse more than 35 vendors, enjoy delicious food trucks, attend speaker presentations and panels, meet investigators, hear incredible stories, and dive into the worlds of hauntings, cryptids, UFOs, and the unexplained. Whether you're a seasoned ghost hunter or just curious about the mysteries that surround us, there's something for everyone at the West Kentucky Paranormal Expo. Tickets are on sale now. For more information, visit West Kentucky Paranormal Expo on Facebook and get ready for one of the most exciting paranormal events of the year. We'll see you in Mayfield on September 26th. Welcome back to Southern Ghost Stories. I'm the American Haunt Historian, Alan Searcy. So, today in the From the Vault episode, we're going to Cragfont, which is in Castilian Springs, a little bit north of Nashville in Sumner County. All kinds of wild, crazy history, Native American attacks, wild stuff happening all in the house. So yeah, this is one of the first episodes we ever did from the vault. My lovely co-host Chelsea, back in the early days, 2019, found an old hard drive at all these old episodes that you can't get on the regular feed. So I hope you guys enjoy this. It's Cragfont. It's one of my favorite places in all Middle Tennessee to investigate. So check it out.
Everyone, thank you for tuning in to Southern Ghost Stories, where we talk about some of the most haunted places in the South. I'm your host Chelsea, along with Alan.
Hello.
We hope you enjoyed last week's podcast on the Sorrel Weed House in Savannah, Georgia. If you're interested in finding out more information about the house or other haunted locations in Savannah, check out our Savannah Ghost Map app, which allows you to customize your own ghost tour, and our book, Southern Ghost Stories, Historical Hauntings. Today, we'll be talking about Cragfont, located in Castilian Springs, Tennessee, which is a little over 30 miles north of Nashville, Tennessee. Not many people associate hauntings with Tennessee. However, with all the history surrounding the Civil War, we definitely should be. Cragfont is one of those hidden gems that most people have never heard of, but there's been quite a bit of paranormal activity that has been reported all over the property. Alan, you want to go ahead and start us off with some of the history of Cragfont?
Absolutely. Before we talk about Cragfont, we really have to talk about the history of Tennessee as a state. During the American Revolution, the government had to come up with an incentive to get people in the colonies to fight for independence against England. In order to recruit new militia members, states like Virginia and North Carolina, they promised land grants to veterans once the war was over. It was also contingent on winning the war, too. These land grants also served as an enticement to grow new settlements in areas which were mostly populated by Native Americans. By having skilled military men in the area, it would deter attacks from Native Americans who supported England during the Revolution. They had been pretty hostile toward the colonies, so a strong military presence was desired. One of the former soldiers who received a land grant was Brigadier General James Winchester. Winchester fought for the colonies during the American Revolution. During the war, Winchester was captured twice, but each time he was released during a prisoner exchange. When the war was over, land in western North Carolina became Tennessee, and the land that is known today as Sumner County was given to soldiers. This is where James Winchester settled down and built a log cabin overlooking Bledsoe's Creek with his family.
James Winchester and his brother George were all respected due to their military background, and they served in the local militia. In 1796, James was elected the first Speaker of the Tennessee State Senate. Even though the area was an influx of veterans, Native Americans still lived there too. As you can imagine, the Native Americans weren't happy about this, and from time to time there would be a dust-up between the two sides. Well, one day while heading to the court, George Winchester was ambushed by natives. Clearly outnumbered, George was beaten, shot, and scalped. 2 years later, James Winchester led a raid on a tribe that he believed was behind his brother's death. After killing one of the elders, the natives retreated and stopped bothering the settlers in the area. Eventually, treaties were reached and the two parties began to get along.
In 1798, Winchester began working on a large home built from limestone. 4 years later, it was completed and given the name Cragfont. The house was one of the largest in the Southwest at the time. Winchester also built a mill, distillery, cotton gin, as well as a store that also served as the first post office in Sumner County. Winchester also was a farmer and grew cotton and tobacco on his land. After serving as a brigadier general in the Army during the War of 1812, Winchester retired from service and worked as a land surveyor. Together with Andrew Jackson and John Overton, they would found the city of Memphis in 1818. In the 1820s, Cragfont became somewhat of an inn. It was a place people could stay as they made their way west from the East Coast to Memphis and other settlements in the Midwest. Winchester died on July 26, 1826, in his home at Cragfont. After Winchester's death, the house stayed in the family, and in 1863, during the Civil War, the Union Army seized Gallatin. They eventually found their way into Castilian Springs, where they freed the slaves on the property. They also pillaged Cragfont and vandalized the home for good measure. Without slaves to run the plantation, the family sold it. The property changed hands numerous times over the years until the Tennessee Historical Commission bought the property in 1959. 2 years later, the newly renovated house was reopened as a museum.
Due to the rich history of the area and the property, many believe Cragfont is considered to be the most haunted place in Tennessee. Some who have worked there have even described it as being downright evil. Personal belongings of staff members are thought to be fair game for whatever lives in the mansion. There are numerous reports of cell phones, keys, and eyeglasses that come up missing inside the home. One former employee bought a new pair of glasses one day and set them down inside the home. When he came back a little bit later, something had twisted them and broke them. A few days later, the staff member bought another pair and brought them to the house. He made the mistake of laying them down again. Sure enough, when he came back to retrieve them, they were twisted and mangled again. The attic is thought to be the most haunted part of the house. According to legend, it is believed that the Winchesters had a daughter with special needs who lived in the attic. In the 18th century, elite members of society, like General Winchester, would go out of their way to hide members of their families with disabilities. Supposedly, whenever people came to the home, Winchester would have a slave take his daughter up to the 3rd floor and lock her in the attic.
Now, there are also rumors of James Winchester catching the slave messing around with his daughter upstairs in the attic. Needless to say, this didn't go over very well with the general, and the young African-American man was taken off the property and never heard from again. Legend has it that one night during a really bad thunderstorm, Winchester took in some visitors on their way to West Tennessee, so he had his daughter locked up in the attic for the night. On this night, as the thunder roared, the little girl got scared and began to rock back and forth against the chimney. As the thunder got louder and louder, she began to hit the back of her head against the brick. The next morning when they came in, she was dead. Since then, the attic has been the epicenter of paranormal activity inside the house. Staff members have talked about hearing cries late at night coming from the 3rd floor. I spoke to someone who grew up in Castilian Springs, and they told me that in the 90s around Christmas time, they went to Cragfont for an open house. As they wandered the house, they went to the 3rd floor and looked out a window. When they looked outside, they felt something move quickly behind them. When they turned around, they saw a rocking horse rocking back and forth on its own. Scared half to death, she then felt something chasing her as she raced out of the room and down the stairs. She told me she went back years later, and when she went back to the 3rd floor, she didn't see the horse rocking, but did feel the same feeling of uneasiness like someone was watching her. Ironically enough, since then, I've had other people tell me that they too have felt something watching them in the attic, as well as chasing them down the stairs. Another person I spoke to who worked on the property told me about strange lights they saw at night inside the home. During the spring one night, a staff member, he was camping out on the property with some friends. When he got up to use the bathroom in the middle of the night, he looked up to the house and saw a strange light in the window. At this hour, no one should be in the house, so he walked a little closer to investigate. And as he got closer, he saw a candle floating from room to room through the windows. Who could this possibly be?
Well, the ghost of James Winchester is thought to still reside in his original study. Some have claimed to see an apparition that looks like the general in his room. Winchester is also said to hang out in the master bedroom on the second floor. Staff members have come into this room in the morning to find the blankets on the bed disheveled like someone has slept on them the night before. However, when they checked the security cameras, no one ever entered the room.
Another strange story I heard from a staff member was someone who was preparing for a dinner party inside the home. She set place settings on the table along with paper napkins. After stepping out of the room for a few minutes, she returned to find everything as she had left it, except for every single napkin. They had been strewn all over the floor. Since that day, they've only used cloth napkins at events, and they've never had any more problems. The same staff member also told me of a situation one night when she and the curator were leaving as a bad storm was rolling in. Each time they set the alarm, it would go off. They decided to go back into the house to see what was going on. They didn't find any windows or doors cracked open. What they did find was far more chilling. Every single chair in the entire house had been moved to face a window in the direction of the storm that was coming in. But the strangest story I have heard about paranormal activity inside the home, it's also the most violent. Over the years, there were whispers all over Middle Tennessee about the house trying to kill the curator. It was even featured on the local news one night when things got really hairy. I wasn't so sure I believed all the stories until I talked to a lady who worked on the property. According to her, she came into the house one day to find the curator bleeding from the head. He told her, "The house is trying to kill me." She thought it was strange until the curator pulled up the surveillance video. As she watched in disbelief, she saw books jumping off the shelf as he walked by. If that wasn't creepy enough, a large 200-pound, 8-foot-tall grandfather clock fell over on top of the curator, and it split his head wide open. But it gets even stranger.
A few months later, the curator heard a vacuum cleaner running upstairs, so he walked to the second floor to investigate it. As he walked into each room, he didn't see anything out of the ordinary, so he began to go back downstairs. But out of nowhere, a noose appeared and wrapped itself around his neck and began to pull the curator down the stairs. As he struggled to get loose, he suddenly felt whatever was holding him let go. As he stumbled to his feet, trying to regain his composure, he heard horrific laughter followed by the sound of someone running up the stairs.
That's pretty creepy. But being outside of the house isn't really safe either. I spoke to someone who oversaw a social event in the 90s. A truck carrying a large sound system was brought in for the event and was parked behind the garden. After chalking the wheels, the crew began to set up and test the equipment. A minute or so later, they noticed the truck and the sound system was rolling down the hill into the pond. They raced to catch it, but it was too late. The wood that was used to chalk the wheels was later found about 20 feet away from where they had originally placed it. Whatever was there, it apparently didn't like the music.
On another occasion, strands of lights were hung up outside for a wedding later in the evening. However, a few hours before everyone arrived, something popped every single light out. When they arrived, they found shards of glass all over the place.
And there's a lot of strange things that have happened, but my favorite story was told to me by a man who worked on the grounds crew in the early 2000s. He had a friend who was a loudmouth and a hothead. He mowed the yard and took care of the grounds, but he wasn't very popular. One day after his friend got upset, he started to curse and started behaving pretty badly. Well, a stiff wind blew the hat off his head. And as he ran after it, the wind kept blowing it across the property. When he finally caught up to it, it was up against the house, on fire.
Another story on the house is in regards to Conway Twitty. So country music legend Conway Twitty lived in the area in the 1980s, and he had heard about the alleged hauntings over the years, but he didn't believe them. One of his friends arranged a private tour of the house for the singer so he could check it out for himself. Allegedly, when he arrived to Cragfont, Twitty strolled casually through the first floor and made his way up the stairs. After a minute or so, he ran down the stairs and was running out the door. According to his friends, Twitty became a believer that day.
Earlier this week, I was researching another place in Tennessee, and I ran across two different people who shared with me their experiences at Cragfont. One told me that they had seen the apparition of a woman in a long white dress from a distance on the upstairs patio. Another told me that he was working inside the house, standing on a ladder. He thought he heard something, and when he looked down, he saw a lady in a white dress floating by the ladder. When I visited the house last year, I didn't see anything out of the ordinary. However, as I was leaving the house, I heard a really loud bang that startled me. I saw a lady working in the garden, and I asked her if she had heard the noise. She told me she had, and she acted like it wasn't a big deal. I asked her if someone was working inside the home, and she said no. I asked her again if she wanted to go check it out, and she looked at me and said, "Honey, it happens all the time. It's not a big deal."
Today, the property serves as a popular wedding venue and gathering place due to its beautiful gardens and sprawling landscape. The house is open for tours during the spring until November. It's also open during special events late in the year, like Halloween and Christmas. We hope you enjoyed hearing all about Cragfont. If you would like to learn more about the house, check out our book, Southern Ghost Stories, Historical Hauntings, or visit our website, southernghoststories.com. Also, if you plan on visiting Middle Tennessee and want to take your own customized haunted tour, download the Nashville Ghost Map app in iTunes. Please feel free to leave a comment or send us a message on our Facebook or Instagram accounts and let us know about any creepy experiences you may have had. Also, please give us some ideas on which locations you would like to hear us talk about in future shows. Be sure to subscribe and check back with us next week as we discover La Pavilion, one of the most haunted places in New Orleans.
In 1798, Winchester began working on a... After serving as a general in the army... After serving as a brigadier...
One form... Shut up.
After his death, the house stayed in the family... What?
What?
In the 18th century, elite members of... can't say society.
Instagram. Okay. Let's do this again.
Can you say that for us American people?
La Pavilion.
There you go. If you love ghost stories, folklore, and all things mysterious, you need to make a trip to Haunted in downtown Tullahoma, Tennessee. Just a short drive from Nashville, this family-owned Gothic shop is filled with the strange, unusual, and downright fascinating. This isn't a big box store full of mass-produced decorations. Haunted specializes in handmade curiosities, Gothic decor, metaphysical supplies, green witchcraft essentials, and unique pieces created by independent artists. Whether you're decorating or just looking for something you won't find anywhere else, Haunted is worth the trip. Visit them on 125 West Lincoln Street in Tullahoma, or shop online at hauntedstore.net. That's right, hauntedstore.net. Haunted, curated for the strange and unusual. Monster City Madhouse, a year-round online store full of Halloween and classic horror shirts, with an emphasis on the vintage look. Use code SAVE10 for 10% off your order. MonsterCityMadhouse.com. Free shipping and financing's available.